A plus-size woman faces rejection from her fiancé's parents, who prioritize societal beauty standards over her worth. Shortly thereafter, they realize their mistake and plead with her to become their son's wife. However, at that point, it's already too late. Ben and Stephanie cross paths during their college years, and a deep affection blossomed between them. He thought she was the most beautiful girl, even though she didn't have an hourglass figure or the most beautiful looks. He loved her very much. Stephanie was completely smitten with him too, and when he asked her to marry him just 2 months into their relationship, she eagerly accepted. Ben thought it would be a great idea to have Stephanie meet his parents, so he invited her over for dinner at his place. However, his parents, Stella and Richard, expressed disapproval upon seeing a plus-size woman entering their home with their son. "Hey, Ben," Stella whispered in a hushed tone as Stephanie walked in and made herself comfortable on the living room couch. "Is she the mother of the girl?" "What?" Ben made a face. "Mom, I don't understand what you're trying to say." "That's not very nice. She's Stephanie, the girl I've been meaning to introduce to you and Dad." "She's too big, Ben." "And that gives her a more mature appearance," Stella firmly expressed to him. "Are you seriously expecting us to embrace her as our daughter-in-law?" "Mom," Ben retorted, "you barely know her at all. Why would you make such a quick judgment about her?" "Please stop this," he muttered with frustration as he walked away. Stella and Richard were filled with anticipation as they prepared to meet their son's fiancé. Little did they know what awaited them would be beyond their wildest expectations. Their interpretations of his decision varied greatly. Surprisingly, they were anticipating someone who was fit and appealing, not someone who was big and lazy. As Stella enjoyed her dinner, she couldn't help but observe Stephanie's appetite as she happily helped herself to more spaghetti and eagerly reached for another slice of garlic bread. Stella and Richard exchanged worried looks, and eventually Stella found the courage to speak. "Ben," she said, placing her fork next to her plate, "this needs to come to an end." Ben stopped eating and looked at her, feeling confused. "What's wrong, Mom?" "You and this girl. We don't approve of your relationship." "Stella declared," she said, "we have no problem if you choose to remain friends, but your father and I find this situation unacceptable." Stephanie stopped eating, and she was shocked like Ben was. "Mrs. Miller, I'm wondering if I made a mistake. Ben and I have a deep and genuine love for each other, and—" Excuse me?" Stella quickly stood up, her chair sliding back. "Who do you think you are, barging in and interrupting my conversation with my son?" Stephanie's eyes filled with tears. "I didn't intend to. I am sorry." "Excuse me?" Stella gave her a piercing look. "Apologies won't resolve anything." "Curious to find out the reason behind my frustration? Well, it seems like you might want to consider adjusting your eating habits, as they could have potential consequences in the long run. You seem to have a stronger interest in food than my son," she shouted at Stephanie, whose tears continued to flow. However, Stella's journey was far from over. "All right, let's dive straight in, shall we? I would prefer if you were not a part of his life. Do you get it? Can you please stop bothering him?" At this moment, Ben completely lost his composure. "Mom!" "That's really unkind. Stop insulting her like that." "Quiet down, Ben," his father added. "Do not disrespect your mother in front of anyone." "Have you forgotten your manners?" Ben was astonished by his parents' behavior. Stephanie, however, couldn't help but let her tears flow as she abruptly departed. "I apologize, Ben. she said to him before she departed. "I was completely unaware that you reached out to me for this. Thanks for your unkind words." As Stephanie left, Ben was seething with anger. "Are you both out of your minds? What have you all just done?" Ben expressed his deep affection for Stephanie and his desire to spend the rest of his life with her, yet his parents stubbornly turned a deaf ear to his heartfelt plea. Surprisingly, due to his ongoing financial dependence on them, they actually went as far as to issue a threat of cutting off his financial support if he decided to tie the knot with Stephanie. Ultimately, Ben found himself in a situation where he had no choice but to end his relationship with Stephanie, even though he had been ready to commit to her. Stephanie was devastated when he broke the news that their relationship had come to an end. "Ben," she pleaded with him, her eyes welling up with tears. "Don't do it. Let's find a solution. Let's explore some possibilities." "I apologize, Steph," he said. "I hope you will forgive me someday." Following his split from Stephanie, Ben's parents decide to introduce him to Mia, the daughter of their close family friends. Ben's parents were thrilled with the woman he brought home. She had all the qualities they had always dreamed of in a future daughter-in-law: a slim figure, a beautiful face, and a striking appearance. Stella and Richard found it to be a great way to shift his focus away from Stephanie, who they referred to as Effat. However, Mia and Stephanie were complete opposites. She was cold, self-centered, and arrogant. Ben grew to dislike her and eventually decided to end their relationship. When his parents discovered the truth, they started shouting at him. But Ben had reached his breaking point. "Enough, everyone!" he exclaimed. "You have such a significant impact on every aspect of my life. It's as if my every breath hinges on your approval. I wish you had simply shown me the door." He muttered in frustration and stormed off, forcefully shutting his bedroom door. After that day, Ben started to create some distance between himself and Richard and Stella, and he hardly ever engaged in conversation with them. In addition, he seemed constantly on edge. Richard and Stella came to the realization that their actions were pushing their son away, leaving them with a heavy sense of guilt. So they decided to make up for their mistakes and went to see Stephanie. Unbeknownst to them, a world of surprises lay in store. Stephanie was taken aback when she heard the doorbell ring that morning, as she hadn't anticipated any visitors. She was taken aback by the sight of Ben's parents on her porch. "Mr. and Mrs. Miller, what brings you here?" Richard and Stella shared a glance filled with discomfort. "We're really sorry about what happened last time," Stella said. "It's clear that Ben's love for you is unparalleled. Please forgive us and marry him. We beg you." However, Stephanie declined. "I regret to inform you, Mr. and Mrs. Miller, that I have decided not to return to Ben. I can't help but feel disappointed that he didn't fight for our relationship. It makes me question his love for me." "You're just wasting your time here, Mr. and Mrs. Miller," she interrupted them abruptly. "Apologies, but I currently have someone special in my life." Richard and Stella observed a young man diligently preparing breakfast, while Stephanie opened her door wider. "Tom and I have been together for a while now, and we couldn't be happier," Stephanie shared. "What's even better is that he and his parents truly appreciate me for who I am. So please, don't ever bother me again." And with that, Stephanie forcefully closed the door. Ben's parents acknowledged their responsibility for their son's unhappiness, yet felt powerless to change the situation. What insights can be gained from this account of events? 1. It is important to prioritize your children's happiness and allow them to make their own decisions. Stella and Richard caused a rift between Ben and Stephanie due to their high expectations. Ben was deeply impacted by their actions, leading to a gradual distance between them. 2. Beauty is found within. Stephanie ultimately discovered a person who truly appreciated her and was willing to defend her. Tom recognized the inner beauty of Stephanie that Ben's parents failed to see. Spread the word about this story to your friends. It has the potential to bring a ray of sunshine into their lives.